core of what we do is Castles and Crusades. We used to be a D20 publisher. We shifted all of that to CNC once Castles and Crusades came out. So I think we've done one D20 book in the last 2 years, and we won't be doing any more in the year. We won't be doing 4th edition products. So Castles and Crusades is our core product. The Crusaders, a magazine we do. We've done fiction products under the Chenault and Gray bandwagon. Then we've done some of Gary Gygax's properties, the Gygaxian Fantasy World series and Legendary Adventures. We just released Gourd by Gary Gygax. And then on the other side of the coin, we are in the process of launching a series of games that are related to the Siege engine, but different games, the Star Siege. And then Davis has, for a long time, wanted to do just games, Shira board games. He's got Cleaver the Pit that we worked on for years. So we're just kind of branching in that direction. But the core is Castles and Crusades, without a doubt. You can try anything. And you don't have to open a book. You just have to say, I swim the river. And the CK is going to try to figure out quickly whether you can swim or not, and whether the river's current is too hard or whatever, and then you just make your dexterity check or strength check or whatever the CK wants it to be. The Siege engine is the main mechanic that drives Castles and Crusades. Basically, you have your 6 attributes and your base score to succeed at anything you're trying to do, any skill or whatever. It's 12 or 18. If it's a primary attribute, your base score is a 12. If it's a secondary attribute, it's an 18. You add your level to it, you add your attribute bonus, and the Castle Keeper is going to adjust it by whatever difficulty he wants to have on there. That's Siege engine. That's how you resolve all non-combat conflict is resolved that easily. And I think when people play it, they're kind of introduced to the ease of play, which is the germ of the game's success. And then once they play it a couple of times, I think that they get kind of addicted. We play tested part of the basic set not too long ago with some neighborhood kids. And I was stunned at how much joy they got out of the game. They'd never heard of this. They'd never heard of tabletop role-playing games. They'd never heard of any of this sit down with your buddies and roll dice killing each other. They were just jumping over themselves, having a ball. And it hit me then that there's actually a whole demographic that we aren't even marketing to. Everybody says, oh, the video game has stolen our players. Well, that's actually not true. We're just not marketing it to them because they don't even know we're out there. And there's a good chance that they like hanging out with their friends. They're going to keep playing. It's like I said earlier, when we started this entire conversation, I played Dungeons & Dragons as a kid. But I collected comic books. I was on skateboards. I rode my bicycle. I climbed. I spit. I did all that. I played Army Man. I did it all. Dungeons & Dragons was a part of it. It doesn't have to be the only thing you do. So there's no reason that kids who are playing online role-playing games can't stop on a Saturday afternoon and play some Castles and Crusades or something. There's no doubt, Gary Gygax is my mentor. I mean, he became this kind of font that I would tap whenever I would need to, and he was always so open with information that I don't know, he taught me a whole lot of stuff. He taught me a good way he taught me the importance of dealing with people, how to deal with people. I've always been good with folks, but he kind of taught me that the fans are the #1 thing to any of these endeavors. I mean, we make these games, we might think this, or we might want to market this, or we might want to price it or here, or whatever that we're doing, but to Gary, and always to Gary, the absolute most important thing to him were the fans of the game. One of the most I hate the word disappointing, but heart-rending things, I think, that has come out of his passing. Gen Con 2007, I don't know what happened, but he was there. He was the guest of honor. I'm sure that had a huge part to do with it. Peter Atkinson bent over backwards to honor Gary. Atkinson's a great guy. That staff was phenomenal. We did some signings at the booth, about 4 or 5 of them or something, and the turnout was enormous. Not only did we devote half of this very large booth that we had to Gary, because by that time we had all of his LA stuff out, we had GFW out, we had some of his Castles and Crusade stuff out, we had some of his odd and end things that he had done to us out. So we had this huge wraparound section devoted to Gary. And when we do these autograph sessions, people would line up. The line would go out, down the aisle, a couple of blocks down the aisle, and vanish. We had to get the booth, it wouldn't close down, but we had to get everybody out just to police people to keep it running. And this was every day, every autograph session. It was phenomenal. I mean, we were just amazed, and I think he was tickled pink. And then he saw that the book that he had there, the Eastmark Folio, had just released, and it just blasted off the shelves. I mean, we couldn't keep it there. And of course, a lot of people wanted it autographed, and so forth and so on. So that did really well, and I think that at that point, Gary really, he had finally recovered from the shingles, and he recovered from the stroke, and I think he came back from Gen Con because he started emailing me so much about projects he wanted to do. I mean, there were so many projects. He was emailing me, we got to get this going, we got to get this going, we got to get this going, let's do this. And he started a whole new line of Castles and Crusades modules. He started a whole new line of Legendary Adventures modules. I mean, I could almost see what it was like back in 1979 when he was at the head of it, and all of this information is suddenly flowing. Because I remember November or something, I emailed and said, Gary, slow down. I can't keep up with you. You've just snowballed. I can't keep up with just the projects. He was just working like mad, which was cool. And I think that he was very, very happy. He was kind of back into the mode of things. And it was all kind of coming together when he fell. And I think that the fall is what kind of sent his health to the end. I've struggled since his death on how best to repay Gary. It struck me then as I was talking about Gary that the best way to create Gary's legacy, to thank Gary for what he did for me and for Troller Games, is to impress upon people what type of person that Gary was. Because he was, you hear all kinds of crazy stuff. He's mean, he's a tyrant, he's this, he's that. He was never these things to us. He was nothing but, not certainly he got angry at me, but any two people that work together for 8 years, you're going to get angry at each other. But he was a great guy to work with, free with his advice, free with his hospitality. He loved good food, he loved a good drink, he loved the camaraderie of friends getting together and hanging out, whether they were gaming or just hanging out. That's what he absolutely loved. And that was kind of Gary at the core, is interacting with people on a very personal level. And that's Gary Gygax, and that's what he passed. I hope that he passed to Troller Games. And he certainly, it's kind of a life philosophy that Davis and I have, that all of we Chenaults have kind of got from our parents, but Gary kind of reinforced all of that. That this is really this is what it's about. It's about interacting with your neighbors and getting along and having fun. And I think that's the best way to kind of cement Gary's legacy, and certainly his legacy to me.